And welcome to this edition of Oxford News This Week. I'm Jim Hughes, and I'll be bringing it to you. And on today's news, here are some of the headlines that we'll be following. Increased community communication from the Oxford School Board. Also, Oxford residents involved in counterfeit crimes and telephone threats. And also, high school sports back in full swing right here. Stay tuned. You're watching Oxford News This Week. Although the 2024 is still months away, the Oxford Board of Trustees already time to start planning for and revising the township's master plan. On the August 24th meeting, the Board of Trustees met with the Planning Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and representatives from Carlisle Wortman Associates. In special joint meetings, the township master plan, last completed back in 2019, aids present and future boards in making actual decisions on land use and specialties, and planning and zoning variances and site plans, according to the Carlisle Wortman representative Megan Mason Mincock. The company has worked with the township for nearly 20 years, helping with analysts of the Oxford future population demographics and what actually needs to be done for the township and what needs to be done to be serving the township. Officials sorted their future priorities into categories that included infrastructure, water quality, retail space, hospitals, senior housing, traffic control, and even protecting the horse country that our community does enjoy. Mason Mincock suggested that the township officials create a special steering committee to set up the targets and timelines of the master plan and keep the developments moving forward. At the end of the meeting, Township Treasurer Joe Ferrari moved, and Trustee Margaret Payne sounded that the township should spend no more than $50,000 on this new plan. The Oxford School Board of Education is seeking to increase communication and transparency with the community since the tragedy back in November of 2021. Many of the community members have asked and petitioned the board for more information. But Vice President Dr. Erwin Reese explained at the general board meeting on August 22nd, when the public comment occurred, the board cannot respond due to their policies. So Reese suggested 2 ideas for what she hopes will expand the board interaction with the community and maybe foster a more robust dialogue. The first she named a coffee chat, which would involve 2 board members and perhaps a superintendent in public locations to have open dialogue and resources for families. The other idea Dr. Reese presented was the key communicator group, a small group of individuals such as realtors, pastors, or business owners that would serve the communication bridge between the board and the public. The board moved to have Superintendent Dr. Vicki Markovich begin the formal process of getting the communication plans completed. In addition, the school board news, it was announced during a special meeting on the August 29th that the report of the events that surrounded that November 2021 high school shooting would finally be made public on or before October 30th. The release date was revealed after a letter was presented to the school board by Varnum Law Firm, which was hired to help the district with its investigation and litigation around the shooting. Third-party firm Guidepost Solutions, the organization hired to investigate the shooting. However, both board members and parents have many doubts about the process. The school board requested additional clarity on the scope of the investigation and how the contract was created in the first place. Some members call the process messy and discuss gathering outside legal opinions. Former school board president Tom Donnelly, who resigned during the process, even arrived at the meeting to inform the board that he fought to make sure the contract was done right, but the questions still linger. According to Varnum attorney Ron Duward, the review has always been completely independent of the board and that the board members have never been briefed on its findings. Parents are still frustrated with the delayed release of the information, and many wonder if the report would even be a valuable information after the completed process, the complicated process. The report will be released, again, to the public and the school board at the same time. Again, I think it was at October 30th. A teenager in Maryland has been arrested after Oakland County Sheriff's Office detectives linked the phone number from a coastal state to a threatening phone call made to the Oxford resident. A 17-year-old male from Baltimore was arrested on Thursday, the 24th of August, charged by the Maryland Juvenile Court with threats of mass harm and improper use of the telephone and other crimes. The victims were 3 14-year-old students and a 39-year-old woman from the Oxford Township. The suspect made inappropriate comments to at least one of the students and a woman, and then threatened one of the 14-year-olds with the intended gun violence against the school. The investigation began when the Oakland County Sheriff's Office received a tip from the OK to Say program, a resource targeted at the school-age children for preventing violence. The threatening calls were ultimately linked to the suspect, the address, and he confessed to the crime, and in writing a letter of apology when interviewed by the Maryland State Police. In an official release, Sheriff Michael Bouchard expressed his gratitude for the Maryland State Police efficiency, cooperation in holding those who threaten the community accountable. The Oxford Township Police Department is warning business owners to stay aware of a man who attempted to use counterfeit currency at a local business. 2 female employees at the Oxford Dollar Tree on 212 South Washington Street encountered a $50 bill when a man tried to pay for merchandise at 6 p.m. on the 27th of August. The suspect was described by Oxford Village Police Officer Rouse as a black man in his mid to late 20s with dreadlocks, a maroon shirt, a baseball cap with black pants. One of the employees went to the manager's office to call the police. While she was on the phone, the suspect became upset, paid for his merchandise with a $10 bill. When the officer Rouse inspected the confiscated counterfeit money, he noted that it was defining characteristics that were waxy exterior, blue watermark on the black side, and a cartoonish appearance on the bill. Face was held up to light. The case is still open and further investigation. Anyone with further information is actually encouraged to call the Oxford Village Police Department at 248-628-2838. The Oxford Fire Department is now offering free CPR classes for any community members who want to learn and aid others in the case of a medical emergency. The American Heart Association's Family and Friends CPR class runs 2 hours and teach participants how to perform CPR on several age groups, how to use the AEDs, and how to stop AIDS choking individuals. The classes were funded by more than a $12,000 grant from the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan and another donation from the Chaldean Community Foundation to pay for the equipment and the instructors' wages. The classes will run on a monthly basis for 2 years, for full years, and take place at the Oxford Fire Station number 1. Classes are limited to 20 participants, and the very first class from 6 to 8 p.m. on Wednesdays, September 27th. North Oakland Transportation Authority will also offer free transportation to and from the classes for any Oxford, Addison, or Orion resident who actually lack transportation and were not able to drive to the courses. To register for the classes, visit and sign up at Genius at tinyurl.com/youth. In an update to a story previously featured here in Oxford News this week, body of a swimmer who had gone missing in Walled Lake was recently found by divers, according to the press release from the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. 36-year-old Adam Malecki and 2 friends were caught in a storm near midnight Wednesday, August 16th. The group had jumped off the pontoon boat, but once they returned in response to the oncoming storm, Malecki could not be found. Walled Lake Police asked the Oakland County Sheriff's Office search and rescue team for the reinforcement, and the officials began their search early Thursday morning. The Southeast Michigan Dive Group, a coalition of law enforcement and fire department agencies created to respond to water emergencies, arrived on the scene for additional aid. Several thunderstorms and a male friend, the lack of knowledge of the location, said he was last seen further complicated the search for the search. Finally, after 2 full days of rescue, officials located Malecki around 7 p.m. in the evening on a Friday night. The search rescue team found him in 500 feet of water from the shore and about 30 feet deep. The incident still remains under investigation by the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. And there is a mural in Oxford Township, but instead of covering the building downtown, the artwork is beautifully local on a local garage. Along the south side of Seymour Lake Road, just east of Coates Road, the baby blue building is now decked out in Oxford pride, covered with a blue and gold football helmet, and one side of the fierce Wildcat mascot on the other. The building is under the Oxford residents David Marinkovsky. Ownership, he owns it, but it's not his idea to have painted it. Instead, the creative talent from the imagination behind the artwork is from Jeremy Pascal, owner of Pascal Creative Painting. Pascal reached out to Marinkovsky about the painting and the blank canvas that was the garage, and the owner suggested an Oxford theme. Pascal said that the mural is still in progress. He believes that as an artist, it's his job to make people smile beautifully in the world and add a little bit of love and light wherever he can with his work. And now, finally, in the Behind the Lens segment. In our Behind the Lens segment, again, we're sharing this historical stadium snapshot with you. This picture was taken in Detroit in 1937. The last year that it was the location would be known as Navin Field. The grandstand in the right field was brand new for the baseball season, and a double-deck enclosure would soon follow. After the season was completed, the entire stadium was updated with the center field bleachers and a double-deck in left field, and the roof covering the left and right field grandstands. Again, the double-decked all the way around, and it was now known as Briggs Stadium that Walter Briggs would purchase. Briggs titled and remained it there until 1961 when he officially changed the field to Tiger Stadium. That in our Behind the Lens segment. Quite a lengthy newscast there. Our last story today, going bananas for newcomers at the Detroit Zoo.
K9 Stray Rescue is Oxford's own local dog rescue. Each year they take in hundreds of dogs and bring them into suitable homes. A certified nonprofit organization, K9 Dog Rescue strives to give pound dogs a new leash on life. To donate, adopt, or even volunteer, call them at 248-628-0435 or go to their website, dogsaver.org, and click on the K9 Stray Rescue League link.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and this story is taken from Automotive News. Mercedes-Benz is delivering a roomier coupe in the redesigned AMG GT. The second generation of the two-door sports car debuted August 18th at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance near Monterey, California. The 2024 Mercedes AMG GT Coupe arrives at dealerships in the first half of next year. A four-door Grand Touring electrified variant could follow. While two-door coupes and convertibles aren't hot sellers in the U.S., they bestow a halo effect on the product portfolio. AMG GT Coupe is as much a marketing tool as it is a performance flagship for the brand, Auto Pacific analyst Paul Waati said. Its allure draws potential customers into showrooms who might drive away with a more practical model from the Mercedes lineup. Mercedes delivered 2,970 copies of the AMG GT in the U.S. last year. The next generation coupe will be available in two models, with the AMG GT63 and the AMG GT55. Pricing is undisclosed. A hand-assembled AMG 4-liter V8 bi-turbo engine powers both models, which comes standard with all-wheel drive. In the AMG GT63, the engine delivers 577 horsepower and a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of 3.1 seconds. In the GT55, the V8 unit produces 469 horsepower and can sprint from 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. The AMG GT is larger than the previous generation with a longer wheelbase and overall length. Short overhangs, a steeply raked windshield, power domes on the hood, and a sculpted rear shoulder deliver a muscular and compact look. A deep, wide AMG-specific radiator grille dominates up front, while the lower air intake visually accentuates the vehicle's width. Flat, horizontally connected LED taillights mirror the headlight's 3D light dots signet. The rear diffuser with integrated twin tailpipe accents rounds off the back end. Flush-mounted door handles and an active rear spoiler integrated into the large trunk lid add sleekness. With the new generation, Mercedes-Benz has broadened the GT Coupe's audience by adding a 2+2 seating option and a room for a couple of Rimowa suitcases. I don't know what they are. While limited in usability, the back seat makes the GT more than simply a go-fast one-trick pony. Auto Forecast Solution Vice President Sam Fiore said, Mercedes designed the latest GT for performance. A mix of aluminum, steel, magnesium, and fiber composites maximize rigidity while minimizing weight. The retractable rear spoiler adjusts for stability or to reduce drag. A carbon composite element in the underbody of the front engine lowers by about 1.6 inches at speeds up at 50 miles an hour, increasing downforce and reducing front axle lift, allowing the coupe to handle corners better. A two-piece active air control system with louvers hidden behind the front air intakes dials up aerodynamics. Typically, the louvers are closed, minimizing air resistance, directing air towards the underbody, and reducing front lift. Mercedes said the louvers open only when the engine and other components reach high temperatures and require cooling. The cockpit features a 12.3-inch driver display and an 11.9-inch multimedia touchscreen. The flat-bottomed AMG Performance steering wheel includes a sensor mat with hands-on detection. A warning is issued if the driver does not have their hands on the steering wheel for a certain period of time. If ignored, the active emergency stop assist function is activated, slowing the vehicle down and eventually stopping it. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The Oxford High School varsity football home opener took place last Friday. Again, we were there. The Wildcats faced against Utica Eisenhower. Opened up with a slow start, scoring 0 points in the first half, giving up 13 going into the third quarter. Jay Cady got Oxford on the board when he kicked a 34-yard field goal, bringing the score to 13-3. With only 51.5 seconds left, Cady made it through the posts again for another field goal, this time from 25 yards out. Two other Wildcat field goal attempts were squashed by poor snaps, and one resulting in a turnover. Following another Eisenhower touchdowns, the Wildcats were defeated 20-6 despite the loss. Oxford coach Zach Lyons said he was optimistic about the potential of his team. He believes the team won a physical battle and stated that the team mental errors would be the focus of future improvements. Lyons also said he thinks the team is starting to figure out that they have got some talent. Oxford High School's girls varsity golf team took home first place after the first two Oakland Activities Association White League tournaments. The girls teed off at Farmington Hills Golf Club on the 22nd of August. 6 out of the 8 girls total team members kicked off their 4th year on the varsity at the start of the season. The combined final score for the Lady Wildcats was 347, nearly 20 strokes ahead of the runner-up, Troy Athens, Stony Creek, Farmington, North Farmington, Groves, Seaholm. All couldn't catch up to the seasoned team of members of Ellie Geiselman. Led the team with a 83. Tournament 4th place over the score, senior Kira Billis and sophomore Katie Phil, both tied at 5th place with their scores at 85. Head coach Gretchen Gabler says the girls made up a real team thanks to the supporting and caring attitudes on the green. And that's going to wrap it up in sports. We'll have more sports as the fall sports season's underway. Dave Kenny, I believe, will have one more segment. I'll have the last story as we wrap up Oxford News This Week on Oxford Community Television.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and this story is taken from New Scientist. As a result of the virus behind the COVID-19 pandemic and related vaccination campaigns, many people have some immunity to other coronaviruses, including 2 that could cause dangerous outbreaks in the future. This includes the virus behind SARS, which started spreading in China in 2002 and killed around 1 in 10 of those infected before it was stopped by infection control measures, as well as the deadlier virus behind MERS, which killed 1 in 3 infected people. Small outbreaks of MERS still occur when the virus crosses to people from camels. We were hoping that there would be some antibody binding, but I wasn't expecting to see so much, says Florian Kramer at the Icahn School of Medicine in Mount Sinai, New York. I'm happy to see it, he says. In the study, Kramer and his colleagues took blood samples from 85 people in the U.S. who had either received 2 or 3 doses of one of the mRNA-based vaccines against COVID-19, had been infected with the virus SARS-CoV-2, which can cause COVID-19 or both. They compared these with 15 blood samples taken from people in the 2 years before the pandemic reached the U.S. The blood was tested for antibodies against 21 different coronaviruses, including 3 variants of SARS-CoV-2, the virus behind SARS, and the one behind MERS, and 4 that cause common cold-like symptoms. The pre-pandemic blood samples generally had no antibodies that could bind to the coronaviruses tested, although some could bind to 2 cold-causing coronaviruses called OC43 and HKU1, as well as a virus that affects cows, which is thought to share a common ancestor with OC43. The samples taken during the pandemic, however, had antibodies that bound to most of the 21 viruses to some degree. This suggests a level of immunity that, while it probably wouldn't prevent infection, would protect against severe illness and death, says Kramer. People may also have some protection against coronaviruses from T cells, the other main arm of their immune system, he says. Being infected with a cold-causing coronavirus is thought to bring about immunity only to that specific virus, so it's unclear exactly why infection with SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19 vaccines generated broad immunity, says Kramer. I think the pandemic changed a lot, he says. A lot of us have circulating antibodies that cross-react, and a lot of us have immune memory that can cross-react. Compared with other coronaviruses, the one behind COVID-19 is quite different, says Paul Klinterman at the University of Oxford. The broader immunity from SARS-CoV-2 could be because many people had a more severe infection with it than a typical cold-causing coronavirus, he says. The findings don't mean that health authorities can stop making preparations for the next dangerous pandemic, such as the one that caused by a relation of the viruses behind SARS and MERS, because a new coronavirus could still cause many deaths, says Kramer. A pandemic could also be triggered by a completely different virus, such as bird flu. Nevertheless, the work might help in developing vaccines that give strong protection against the whole coronavirus family, he says, and that's a good thing. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny.
Canine Stray Rescue does just that. Rescue stray dogs for new families. But they need your help. Become a volunteer at Canine Stray Rescue League of Michigan. Take dogs for walks, help them socialize with others, and help them get adopted. Fill out an application and help a family add a new member today.
And the time we all enjoy in our last story today, we're going bananas over a new addition to the Detroit Zoo. The Detroit Zoological Society recently welcomed 4 new gorillas to the Detroit Zoo, the great apes of Harmony Habitat. After saying farewell to the 3 gorillas half-brothers in July, 3 females, 1 male were transferred to the habitat late last month. 3 of the gorillas came from the Cincinnati Zoo, where they previously had a 20-year residency of the habitat and were moved, and the last gorilla moved from Chicago's Lincoln Park Zoo. The associate curator of the mammals of the Detroit Zoological Society, Tammy Brighttrail, said that the 4 new gorillas are already making themselves at home and that the zoo cannot wait to introduce the members and guests to their unique personalities. The oldest gorilla is Mshindi, a silverback whose name means winner in Swahili, and is the only male and is currently 35 years old, while the youngest is 10 years old, Nyayambi, whose name means the single in Lingala language. All 4 gorillas now, 13 chimpanzees in the recently improved 4-acre habitat, and the welcome party was hosted for the troop on the weekend, will be hosted the weekend of September 2nd. And that's going to wrap it up. Always thank you to our news gathering sources this week. We want to thank, of course, our friends at the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, also the Oxford Police Department, the Charter Township of Oxford, the Oxford Athletics Facebook pages, the websites of the Oxford Leader, the Detroit Free Press, Click on Detroit, Oxford Police, the Oakland Press, and the Detroit News, ballparksofbaseball.com, and the OxfordStrongAthletics.com. This week's photo credits go to the Oxford Community Schools, Sarah Beth Maney of the Detroit Free Press, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, the Oxford Police, the Charter Township of Oxford, Ryan Garza of Detroit Free Press, Michigan.gov, the Oakland Press, ballparksofbaseball.com, Oxford Strong Athletics website, and the Detroit Zoo. OCTV can be viewed on Spectrum Charter Channel 19, Channel 99 on the ATT Uver system. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble. Still trying to repair the Roku app. If you have a show idea and would like to contribute, contact OCTV. Give our office a call at 248-628-9658. A very special thank you to producer Kyle Snage, our videographer Al Campbell, news writer Allison Miller, of course, editor Marissa Haruska, also programmer Connie Miller, program coordinator Dan Zweiss, station manager Terry Stiles, For everyone here at OCTV, I'm Jim Hughes, hoping you have a safe week. I invite you back next time when, again, we will take a look at Oxford News This Week.